Hi guys, I'm back. I'm going to take you through the 8 Druids fall cover since some couple of you requested it and some of you wanted me to go through the other covers that I had put up here on my first video, and I never got around to it because I ran out of time. So, like I said, this isn't really a tutorial, it's just more of a walkthrough so you can see what I did. So hopefully it'll be helpful for some of you that already kind of know what I'm doing in Photoshop. So, we're just gonna see how this is gonna go. I need to delete the layers that I decided not to use, or I will forget that I do not want to turn them back on. Oh, that was not that bad. Okay, so I'm going to hit this to hide all the layers. So, there's my background. What's this going to? So I just started with a forest background thing, and then I darkened it using curves, so you can see that I pulled this down and then darkened this so it doesn't get as saturated, and then I turned on, I used this like forest level, and then I added a layer mask and just erased the bottom part so that it like blended in with the ground cover of the forest that I already had, and then I added some fog using one of my fog brushes. See? Wrong layer. Fog brushes right there. And then that was just to make sure that like you couldn't see as much of the place where the two layers met, so that it looked like it blended better. And then I added this layer to the background in the corners, so it adds like that kind of glow in the background, and it added these like leaves in the back, and I set that to multiply, so that's what it normally looked like, and I set it to multiply because I wanted it to be darker. And then I just painted this with a soft brush, the color that I wanted, and I just kept painting it until it got to like the level that I wanted. I turned down the opacity a little, and I set one of them to soft light so it gives more of a glow and a little bit less harsh, and then I just added this like swirl brush thing and more light to the edges. Okay, so here we get to the main manipulation of the model. So I used this model, and people kept talking about how big her head was compared to the size of her arms, but there's really nothing I can do about that since the model just has a big head. That's not my fault. So I added this bark texture to her face and put it on soft light, and then I darkened the whole model, and then I added this like bark texture to her dress so that it's just a little bit less black when I went and did the rest of it. And I added some tree branches to her arms. I just used like warp and bended them to fit the curve of her elbow. Same thing on the other side. I gave her these like deer antlers. And then all I did with this was I just cut out the roots from the tree, and I just like use the warp tool. So if you go here and then you hit warp, I just like bent it until it fit with her body, and then I changed the color balance of this so that it was more red, so that it fit with the color scheme of the graphic. Like my last video was mostly about coloring, and then I darkened it because it needed to be darker. I was just adding leaves to her arm and this, and leaves around, and I did filter blur, motion blur, so that it looks like they're moving. I added this bird and another bird just because I felt like it was a little bit empty and it needed a little bit more fall, and I changed the color of that bird to be yellow. And then I put the text on. I have bevel and emboss, a stroke with a gradient, a satin overlay, a pattern overlay of this like metal glow and a drop shadow. And this is Narnia BLL font. I don't have it on this computer, which is why it has the caution sign. Just added the author name. This has a bevel and emboss, a stroke with a gradient, inner glow, satin, gradient overlay, and drop shadow. And then the nature commands respect, or it commands you. And then I added a gradient map. Like I said before, I pretty much use gradient maps for everything because they are amazing. And yeah, so I think I'm going to do a actual tutorial thing where you can like make a graphic along with me. I just need to figure out what I need to make. So if anyone has any suggestions, please let me know. And then I added a gradient fill around the outside, set it to radial in reverse so that just the black is on the outside, set it to soft light. It just kind of centers your focus on the center of the graphic more than it would otherwise. Just a little bit of more coloring like I explained in my last video. Darkened the sides a little bit more, made it more vibrant, brightened it. I don't think I actually used it. And then my finishing was the Control-Alt-Shift-E, linear light, filter, other, high pass. And that's it. Obviously, if you were taking more time, you could kind of make sure that the tree manipulation around her dress is a little bit better. I just was kind of going for more of like an abstract idea of her being a tree, not her actually being a tree. So if you just glance at it, it looks good. So that was it. It's actually really simple. This is a pretty easy graphic, not something more complicated that I've made. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again.